It's a big week coming up at the Nelson Mandela Foundation. In fact, that lecture, the 23rd of its installment, is taking place this week. In fact, interesting, it was so big that they had to find a new venue just to accommodate all the people that want to attend. The Israelis are not particularly happy with that. The Israel Embassy in South Africa having put out a statement condemning the person who's the interlocutor for this year's lecture, the 23rd Nelson Mandela Lecture. In fact, to speak to us about it here is the CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, Dr. Mbongiseni Buthelezi. Doc, good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. It's a big one, having the UN Special Rapporteur on occupied Palestinian territories as the speaker. That's something that would have been close to the heart of Nelson Mandela, close to the work and the legacy that he's left behind. But what's to be expected this year?
So what to be expected this year is we're in a moment in the world where multilateralism is failing. You've just referenced how Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories, has been criticized by, among others, the Israeli embassy in South Africa. So there's some pressure, but we expect, and we've seen that there's been a massive interest in the lecture. It was originally going to be hosted at Wits, where we hosted last year's lecture, but the venue...
The Great Hall's not big enough.
It's not big enough. No venue is big enough at Wits. And so we've moved the lecture to the Sandton Convention Centre, and we've increased threefold the number of people who can attend. But it's also going to be live streamed.
This will be the biggest one since the Bill Clinton one?
The biggest one was the Obama lecture. The Miyamoto lecture was also quite big, but the biggest so far has been the Obama lecture in 2018. This one is also going to be quite big, and in addition to Johannesburg, Ms. Albanese is also going to be speaking in Cape Town. So she will be speaking next Sunday and next Monday in Cape Town as well.
Multilateralism aside, you know, the story of Nelson Mandela, which I think the foundation hopes and does a great deal of work to preserve, is one that is not of a history of peaceful resistance only. Nelson Mandela at one time was completely okay with taking up arms. In fact, the armed resistance of the ANC was an important part of the project of toppling apartheid. And the question is Hamas in its current format close to what the MK was in the 70s and 80s? And does Francesca answer that? She answers it in the literature quite well, in ways where she frames what the armed resistance is and what it's not, and of course condemning October the 7th. But that parallel is one that I think is the elephant in the room, so to speak.
In many ways it is, but I think what we need to remember is that the resolution, the end of apartheid in South Africa was not brought about by armed conflict. Armed conflict is something that I think we need to find ways of avoiding and moving away from. Unfortunately, of course, we're coming off the back of 2 years of what has been called a war, but really it's been a one-sided decimation of Gaza by Israel. And we see that that is something that is completely unconstructive, unproductive. And what we need to move towards is finding a constructive way of dialoguing towards finding lasting peace. We've had a long history of overtures towards peace, but a very deliberate scattering of any attempts towards peace, especially on the side of Israel. And I think we're in a moment in the world now with the opportunities presented by the Trump plan for us to really start seeing some movement towards a long-term sustainable peace for the people of Gaza in particular, and the West Bank as well.
Who are the respondents this year?
The respondents, so in the lecture will be followed by a Q&A. It will be facilitated by Redi Klabi. The respondent will be Dr. Naledi Pandor, who's the chair of the Nelson Mandela Foundation board. So there will be a Q&A between the two of them.
That's going to be fantastic, explosive, and I think critically important. Why does this lecture as a platform matter for dialogue and discourse in South Africa?
The lecture, let's just remind you, the viewers, that this was actually established by Nelson Mandela himself, who believed very strongly that in any moment that we're in the world, there's always room for dialogue, for peaceful resolution to conflict. But the lecture was established as a thought leadership platform to tackle pressing social issues at any given moment in the world. And so we arrive at the speaker for any lecture based on an analysis, a very deep analysis and deep dialogue with the board of the Nelson Mandela Foundation about what are the pressing social issues in the moment in the world. And so we continue that tradition that Madiba started 23 years ago by hosting this lecture every year. It's an important platform also, I think, for galvanizing support for progressive causes that need to be taken forward in the world. And that's what we hope to use the lecture to do.
Yeah, holding thumbs for President Lula to be the keynote next year. I'm trying to influence you over there. Dr. Mbongiseni, thank you so much for your time. All the best. I'll be attending the lecture, and I hope to enjoy it. I certainly know I will enjoy it. I've attended a few before. All the best to you and the team, and well done for putting this together so successfully and finding a larger venue at such short notice to accommodate the vast interest in this year's lecture. That is Dr. Mbongiseni Buthelezi, the CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation.